I want to begin by asking for reaction on the death of Alexei Navalny.
The assassination of Alexei Navalny is a terrible thing to happen, especially a calculated assassination timed to coincide with a Munich security conference. I don't think there's any doubt that the timing was calculated that way. For a day, his widow, now widow, Julia, she was saying, I don't believe it, I don't know that it's really true, but then today she confirmed it, and it's a source of great sadness to all of us, his courage. So we see everything as an opportunity. Hopefully this will call attention to the evilness that is Putin, and shed a little more concern on what he's capable of, on other prisoners that are there, and give us an opportunity to try to get them released, but at the same time garner even more support for the people of Ukraine.
What would you say to Vladimir Putin?
To Vladimir Putin, I would say what I ask other people. Is he sick? Is he crazy? And the answer I get back is no, he's just a very evil person. Think of the children. He doesn't think of the children, not the children of Russia or Ukraine or any other place. But I'm always worried about the children. Clearly he is not.
What do you think the United States now needs to do?
I think we should continue to do what we're doing to enthusiastically support the people of Ukraine, admiring their courage, their just determination to save their democracy, and in doing so, they're saving everyone's, including ours. So I anticipate that when we go back, we will find a path to send the money for security to Ukraine. And then I would hope that there would be a recognition that even when Ukraine wins this war, which they must, and we must help them do so, that if Putin's still around, Russia will still have to be dealt with, and so we have to be prepared.
You're a master tactician of Congress. How can House Dems help force the issue of the bill being blocked and the aid money to Ukraine currently being held up?
You have to understand that in the House of Representatives, in a very strong bipartisan way, over 300 votes would be there, and you only need 218 to pass the legislation. So we just have 4 words: give us a vote, give us a vote. But we will at the same time examine other parliamentary tactics that give us leverage in the appeal to give us a vote. It's shameful. This is really shameful. Every day that goes by that we don't have this assistance there, people will die. And as we were hearing today, if you lose land, you get it back, but when people die, you can't get them back.
And yet the issue is being politicized.
Well, there are those in the Congress, sad to say, who have been supportive of Putin because he who shall remain nameless has been supportive of Putin.
Europeans here are worried. They see America and they say America is stepping back. You've dealt with Donald Trump. What advice would you give them?
Him? Have an intervention into your mental health, your political viability. He's really grotesque, and it's really a shame. And I never talk politics when I go overseas, because that's just the way we've been very bipartisan when we go overseas. We may have our differences, and we criticize the president at home, and that I might hesitation to do that. But he has ventured into the global scene by his chumminess with Putin, his practically giving a green light to the Republicans in Congress to hold up this funding for the war, so that we can have a victory sooner with fewer lives lost on either side. So it is, it's no use talking to him because he is just in a world of his own, a puppeteer who's not only being a puppeteer but shining the light on the strings of these puppets who are the House Republicans.
What advice would you give to the Europeans on how to deal with him?
I would say to them what I've said to some of them today. The plural of anecdote is not data. That's an expression we use in the Appropriations Committee. Just because he says things and then people say, oh, he could win or this or that. Don't agonize, organize. That's what we say ourselves when we have to win the election. So I think it's a strain on them to be worrying about something that may never happen. I mean, he won once, so people say, well, he could win again. I don't think that that's so. But in the meantime, the more he speaks out, the more clearly we understand what his motivation is. And that's an opportunity, too.
Like telling Russia or Vladimir Putin to attack NATO countries that don't pay their 2% GDP.
He's appalling, and as I say, he's grotesque. What is more appalling is that you don't see Republicans speaking out and disassociating themselves from that ridiculous statement. They know that that is untenable and wrong. We have an obligation to Title V. We believe in the work that we do united together in NATO, and yet they're silent. They're silent. Now, I'm very pleased with the Senate vote for the package, so that was a declaration of independence on their part in the Senate. The only thing is we don't have that yet in the House. You wonder, where do the Republicans go? It's a great party, accomplished good things for our country, turned into a cult of personality, somebody, just an unworthy person in terms of our country. But we just don't, as I say, we don't agonize, just organize, just get the job done. And that's what we're doing. And we're so proud of President Biden. He is a great president. He's accomplished a great deal. He has a beautiful vision for America. He knows the territory. He knows the legislation and the rest because he's been a legislator, a senator, and vice president, so he knows what's going on. He has always a plan. He thinks strategically on how to get the job done. And all that is in the head. In the heart, he's the most empathetic person you could ever know. So history blessed us by having Joe Biden as president at this time.
And there are many people who talk about his humanity, his empathy, and yet there are questions around his age and the approval rating and whether he is in a position or capable of leading the country for another 4 years.
Well, it's interesting how specific they are about Joe Biden, and what's his name isn't that many years younger. It's maybe 3 years younger or something than the president, and he's not in any way as qualified to be president. So it's curious that this press interest in picking up what people say about him, where overwhelmingly they think Trump is too old too, but the attention is on the president. Okay, so we can handle that. We can handle that because of his greatness, of the need for our country to save our democracy. Because if Trump's name's on the ballot, our democracy is on the ballot, our Constitution's on the ballot, our flag is on the ballot.
What keeps you up at night?
Well, I've had to get a mouth guard not to grind my teeth into the ground as long as he's around. The way I frame it is this. I love our national anthem. My favorite line in it is, proof through the night that our flag was still there. And I believe that anyone who wants to be in elective office and the rest should be honoring the oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution and honor the pledge every day that we make to the flag with liberty and justice for all. But we all have to fight to make sure the flag is still there, that the flag and all that it stands for is there. I don't have any thought that Donald Trump has any relationship to the flag still being there. I think his election would mean we have taken down the flag. And some of the same people who are in denial about Joe Biden's election fall in the same category. So it's not that it keeps me up of worry, it just keeps me up of planning to make sure that proof through the night that our flag was still there.
And if in November you find that Donald Trump is president again?
No, he's not going to be. People say, well, he won before and you didn't think he was going to win before. Well, now we have learned how dangerous he is and how we have to inoculate against his poison, educate as to what the differences are. Now, in terms of the polls, I can tell you firsthand that last election, 15 months ago, and when I was Speaker, I said we're going to win this election. And they said, no, you're going to lose 30 or 40 We're down 5 in New York. Now we're down to like 2. But why the polls just kept saying, they kept saying you're going to lose 30 or 40 seats. They didn't know what they were talking about. My whole view of winning an election is to own the ground. You mobilize to own the ground. You message with the voters to see what they're thinking. And we could tell them they cared about a woman's right to choose, cared about climate change, cared about gun violence prevention, cared about our democracy. And our contrasting our candidates with their votes, we won most of those elections. So 40 or 30, we lost 5. And that related more to the gubernatorial race in New York than it did to our messaging. So polls are, whatever they are, a photograph of the moment with a certain methodology that someone may choose. But I don't agonize about polls. I just organize about re-electing the president.
Let's talk about the Middle East. There's a lot of discussion around proportionality and the situation that's unfolding, calls for a ceasefire. Where do you stand on this, and what do you think needs to happen today?
Every day we pray for the release of the hostages, all hostages, release them. October 7th was a terrible day. A terrorist organization, Hamas, attacked Israel to the point of kidnapping children, subsequently raping, but kidnapping children, kidnapping people, taking hostages, and invading a entertainment for young people, a dance show or something. It was a horrible thing. And Israel has a right to defend itself and prepare to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm very sad about the collateral damage in Gaza. So many people killed, so many innocent people, children and families. It is, they weren't combatants or anything, but they were collateral damage. And as long as Israel strives or does better to avoid that collateral damage, it will be a losing message for them, for their reputation. But I'm a very strong supporter of Israel, and I was appalled by October 7th. But we do have to, right now, one of our fights in the Congress is to get the humanitarian assistance to the people in Gaza. And that's a fight that we're having with the other side of the aisle right now, humanitarian assistance. They didn't want to give humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians even before October 7th. Our fiscal year ends on September 30th. So we wanted to get more before September 30th because we would run out. They said, we're not doing it. We're not doing assistance to Palestinians. This is on the Republican side. So then October 7th came, and they blamed Joe Biden and say, well, look at this. No, Joe Biden has been for a two-state solution, as have I. He's been for humanitarian assistance to the people in Gaza and the rest. He's been there, but I don't know if it's spontaneous or we could say a difference between grassroots and astroturf, but they should not be blaming the president for not having humanitarian assistance to the people in Gaza.
As you say, we all saw the horrors of October 7 and what happened there. And now we're seeing 28,000 Palestinians killed. Do you think America now needs to be tough with Israel? You're a strong ally, the staunchest of allies of Israel. But is it now, as you say, concerns around reputational damage, how the IDF is conducting this war, and that there should be a differentiation between how Hamas behaves and the standards in which the world should be holding the IDF?
I think our administration, from what I can see, has been very clear in their message to Israel in terms of respecting the lives of all of those people. Also, to try to discourage them from what might come next in an attack. But Israel is their own country, and they do what they do. The person I admire the most there is President Herzog. I had it with Netanyahu years ago. I mean, really, not trying to make peace or anything all along. And I saw him here. I saw President Herzog here, and I said, how's it going? And he said, we just have a little more to do, and we'll be there. So I was encouraged because he's a decent person. He's not a Netanyahu, and he said it that way. So let's have confidence that this will pass soon. Again, I always say everything is an opportunity, and maybe it'll be an opportunity for Israel to see the disfavor that many in the world had as to how they conducted themselves after October 7th, and will strive maybe for a two-state solution. I don't know, it's going to be hard. It's even harder now unless Hamas is gone. But they are a terrorist organization, and they are surrogates for Iran, and it's a very difficult situation, and my heart breaks for the. Now, I have a lot of Palestinians in my district, and I've protected them from FBI going to Arabic bookstores. I've protected them after 9/11 to bring them together. We all were in the streets against the Muslim ban, and all those kinds of things. Every time I've gone to Israel, I've gone to visit Abbas, and not only that, but listen to the people in terms of young people, NGOs and the rest, to hear what they have to say about what's happening there, but also what was happening in terms of the international debate relating to PLO.
If the United States wanted to pressure Israel, would the question around aid, military aid, come into it? Putting that further pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu.
I think that examples of the past, the Bush administration, Father Bush, they said they were not going to do loan guarantees as long as Israel went forward with more settlements. I think the administration has spoken out about normalizing the settlements, and we'll see what comes of that. Because right now, what we're very concerned about is the West Bank too, and if they normalize, legalize, whatever the word is, more settlements there, it will be very problematic. So I think, in other words, in the heat of battle, they've come in, they've attacked your families, you're this, you're that, and you respond, okay. But when we're talking about policy, let's have a real discussion about it, because one wonders why Israel wasn't better prepared, more aware to protect the Israeli people on October 7th. Was it that they had all of their resources in the West Bank? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think these are legitimate questions. And what would be the consequence of more settlements in the West Bank with less opportunity to ever really reach a fair two-state solution, even with the transfer of land?